Hello, good morning and welcome to a brand new edition of the newspaper show right here on ET Now. I'm Cheryl D'Souza. I'll take you to the top headlines that's there on the Economic Times this morning. And definitely Mumbai is bracing in for that cyclone Nisarga. But more on that later on the show. But the top headlines on the Economic Times this morning is banks seek to recast 3 lakh crore rupees loans. That is the top story on the Economic Times. More on that in a bit. Moving on, you have Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who addressed the CIA annual session yesterday, and he said that we will bring India back on growth track. That's a big headline coming in from Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Moving in, RIL rights issue subscribed 1.3 times. Remember, today is the last day for the rights issue. You have Uday Kotak that's selling 2.8% in bank for 6,900 crore rupees. That block deal happened yesterday during the market hours. Moving on, talks underway to privatize some PSU banks, and post that you have handset companies that may go for 41,000 crore rupees of SOPs. So those are the top 5 headlines coming in on the Economic Times. Moving on, I'll get you some more headlines as there. That is, DGCA has cleared remdesivir for emergency use. You have US President Donald Trump that's invited Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the G7 summit. Moving on, you have cyclone to hit Alibag. Floods are likely in Mumbai, and all of us here in the city and the state are bracing for that particular storm. And Pepsi signs on the man of the moment, Sonu Sood. So that is the top 10 headlines coming in from the Economic Times this morning for you. Let me move on now quickly to the top market headlines that's coming in the Economic Times. And first up is Sensex gains over 500 points despite a rating cut from Moody's. You saw the markets, how they're resilient and how they're marching, and the Nifty is marching towards that 10,000 mark as well. DII holdings at a multi-quarter high in Jan to March quarter. You have S&P 500 as well as Dow scaling fresh 3 months high. You have Nasdaq that is now only 2% away from their record closing high levels. Many companies are now reluctant to project a COVID hit, and LIC's portfolio value down 1.7 lakh crore rupees in the quarter Q4. Let me now move on to the top 5 headlines coming in from the corporate front from the Economic Times. And India wants a fog of fear to lift. You have HUL, the output at 90% of the pre-COVID levels. So there you go, some gearing up coming in from HUL. Britannia rises 32% in Q4. The net profit rises 32% in Q4. You have Indigo that's posted 871 crore rupees consolidated loss in Q4. And lastly, you have Honda sues Hero Electric over e-scooter design. All right, and that is a round of all the top headlines on the corporate market front on the Economic Times. But let me get going with the top headline that's there on the Economic Times for you this morning. And here you go, right on top. This is the story that we are going to talk about. That is, banks seek RBI note to recast 3 lakh crore rupees of loans minus the downgrade. So what is the story and what are the banks asking for? I have my colleague Poonam joining us on the phone line. Poonam, good morning. What is the story all about, and what are the banks seeking?
That's right. Well, good morning, Cheryl. In fact, if you look at the what Economic Times is reporting, they're stating that the Indian lenders have asked the Reserve Bank of India to allow them to restructure loans worth rupees 3 lakh crore and also allow them not to downgrade these loans, because these are the loans wherein, although RBI has allowed extension of moratorium until August, well, the bankers feel that 3 key sectors, wherein commercial real estate companies, hospitality sector, as well as aviation sector, all these 3 sectors have been badly hit due to COVID, and the bank's exposure to these sectors cumulatively amounts to 3 lakh crore. Bankers are asking RBI to allow them to restructure these loans rather than just an extension of moratorium, because moratorium would just be like kicking the can down the road, but a restructure of the loan would help the bankers immensely. It will help them in terms of making relatively lesser provisions, and it will help them prevent these loans from going into NPAs. NPAs are already expected for the banking system to rise to as high as 11.5% versus around 9.5% now. So yes, a request from the bankers to Reserve Bank of India to allow a restructure minus a downgrade for loans to commercial real estate, hospitality, as well as aviation sector.
All right, Poonam, thank you for joining us this morning, giving us and basically covering the story that's there on the Economic Times of what it actually means. Moving on, let's talk about RIL, and the rights issue will end today. I have my colleague Ajay Sharma to take us through all the details of the rights issue. Ajay, good morning. Take it away.
Well, that's correct. The rights issue, India's largest rights issue, closes today. 53,000 crore. Mukesh Ambani himself will be putting in half of it. Promoters themselves will be putting half of it. The numbers till last evening show that the rights issue is already subscribed one time, in fact 1.3 times, and the analyst community is actually expecting this to cross 2-time level by the time it closes. What happens is that, especially in large rights issues and money transfers, it's the last 3 to 4 hours where the big institutional money actually comes in. So up till now, the big institutional money has actually not really trickled in. So analysts are saying that don't be surprised if the entire issue is subscribed by 2x by the last hour of trade. And that because, as you can see that large, good quality companies are witnessing good response from global FIIs. And there is also talk of one more deal coming in Jio platform from Mubadala Sovereign Wealth Fund. So amidst all of this, it should sail through according to analysts and shouldn't find any difficulty. In fact, should get very good response. That's what we are gathering. In fact, we spoke to the investment banker and they also gave us a very good flavor that the kind of marquee names which are buying rights entitlement so that they can, go overweight on RIL without really taking the full money. So that is also which is witnessing good response.
All right, Ajay, thank you for joining us and giving us an take on RIL's rights issue. But let me move on to another story that's there on the front page of the Economic Times. And here you go. Talks are underway to privatize some PSU banks. So this is a proposal that is coming in. So let me read more directly off the newspaper for you. You have Punjab and Sindh Bank, Bank of Maharashtra, Indian Overseas Banks as among the possible names that the talks are underway to privatize some PSU banks. The government has taken baby steps towards privatizing one or more state-run banks to make them stronger, likely undergoing a legacy that started with the nationalization of banks in 1969. That's the word coming in from the sources to Economic Times. A select group of top government functionaries have begun discussions on the proposal that originated from the state-backed think tank, that is Niti Aayog, that's aimed at halting future bailouts by the taxpayer. So this is what the proposal is all about. The candidates that they could include is Punjab and Sindh Bank, Bank of Maharashtra, Indian Overseas Banks, which are not part of any ongoing consolidation plan. Remember, this is all a source-based information that is coming in, that there is proposal and there is talks underway to privatize some public sector banks, and the names that are coming up are Punjab and Sindh, Bank of Maharashtra, as well as Indian Overseas Banks, which currently are not part of any of the consolidation process, the bank mergers that you are seeing. Let me move on from the banking space to the aviation space, and that is Indigo. They reported their Q4 earnings yesterday. My colleague Vivek is here to join in with to give us a lowdown on the earnings and what the company is saying about the future prospects. Vivek?
One of the hardest hit sectors as far as the impact, far-reaching impact of the pandemic has been the aviation sector. Now remember, international as well as domestic flights were completely shut down, and even now, they're just limping back to normalcy when you're talking about Unlock 1.0. In this light, Indigo Aviation that declared its results, most of the analysts on the street were expecting an extremely muted quarter, and while the company has declared a loss on the bottom line, going in, to the quarter, going into the results with such low expectations, the company has managed to quite handsomely beat most of these very muted expectations. There's been a loss of almost 870 crore on the bottom line, but what needs to be watched out for is the revenues, and the revenues have actually jumped up 5% on a year-on-year basis when you're comparing it, and this is because of the very strong months of January and February that the company saw. Now, number one, why are you looking at this particular figure? Higher ancillary revenue as well as stronger than expected deals has led to such a strong and significant revenue jump, especially when you're looking at March being impacted quite significantly. The EBITDA, and you're talking about the reported EBITDA has come in at close to 1%. Again, quite a handsome beat when you're talking about the muted expectations. Now, the company did keep a conference call, and in the conference call, what they said was that, they're following all the norms. The government has allowed them to operate at 33% capacity. Currently, they are operating at close to 20% capacity. They also spoke about the middle seat, while the government has given, it's more of nudged them towards keeping the middle seat vacant, but the government has also given them an option of giving extra kits, and that will ensure that the middle seat is kept vacant. And also, what you're looking at this point of time, the company did not give a guidance. Instead, it is working on a two-month plan. And lastly, they said that they would continue to take deliveries of all the new aircrafts, and there has been no stoppage of payments towards any of the recent deliveries.
Thank you, Vivek, for taking us through Indigo's Q4 earnings. But now let's shift focus to the FMCG space. Page 5 of Economic Times has this good story here. That is HUL output at 90% of the pre-COVID level. The company is seeing revival in demand for hair, skincare items and color cosmetics, but they are not sure when the demand the demand revival will return to normal levels. But for now, 90% of pre-COVID levels is what HUL is saying. But what else is HUL saying? My colleague Neha is joining in with the details. Neha, take it away.
Hindustan Unilever, also known as the bellwether of the FMCG industry, has posted fresh updates on the impact of COVID-19 on their business. It helps us get some understanding into what the first quarter of FY21 could possibly look like for the rest of the FMCG industry. HUL said that they're now operating at 80 to 90% of their overall capacities. All their manufacturing units and warehouses except the one in Assam are now operational. The company did mention that the workers at their Nabha plant in Punjab are currently on strike. They did not mention why, but the company is working towards resolving that. The company also said that most of their suppliers and distributors are now have now resumed operations. As far as demand and impact on specific categories is concerned, HUL said that demand has been impacted severely due to cut in livelihoods and incomes. Discretionary categories like hair care, skincare and color cosmetics will continue to face pressures going forward. As far as their out-of-home business is concerned, which comprises of ice cream, food solutions and consumer durable business of water, the company said that that business has been the most severely impacted. The company did say that they're seeing heightened demand for products in wellness and hygiene categories, and that HUL is well positioned to meet that kind of demand. As far as financial goes, company said that they have seen an increase in their operating costs and that there will be a short-term impact on their profitability. Colgate-Palmolive is another company that came out with an update on their business of the impact of COVID-19. The company said that they do not see a material impact on their annual sales, given the fact that their products have been classified as essentials. The company said that they continue to see demand for their products. Their priority continues to be to ensure products on the shelves. The company said that at this point in time, it is not possible to quantify the impact on the business, but going forward, they do not see any specific impacts as far as financials and profitability of the company is concerned.
All right, Neha, thank you for taking us through that important story that's there on the Economic Times on HUL output, which is at 90% of the pre-COVID level. But staying with the FMCG space, you have Britannia that reported its Q4 earnings yesterday. My colleague Vinny is standing by to take us through how the earnings were. Vinny, take it away.
Britannia posted its Q4 FY20 numbers and they're largely in line with the ET now estimates. Let's have a quick look at the numbers. Revenue was up by 2.4%, standing at 2,867 crores, while the profits saw a nice jump of 26.5%, mainly aided by the lower effective tax rate cuts. Now margins, a 30 basis point increase in the margins, stands at 15.8% versus 15.5% on a year-on-year basis. Now, why are the reason behind these numbers? Obviously, COVID-19 did impact the company, but Britannia's portfolio is mainly essentials, so they were able to recover very quickly from this lockdown situation, and that's why the impact was quite limited on Britannia compared to other FMCG companies. They did see, a moderate inflation in the price of key raw materials in the bakery business, so slightly some impact over there, but the margins were, mostly aided by the low cost efficiency measures as well as the reduction in ad spends, which aided the margins. Now, in terms of commentary, Varun Berry did say that they saw a growth in the first 2 months of the quarter, but because of March, due to the lockdown, they were impacted, and that's what impacted the revenues of the company as well. Now, the disruption in supply chain was there, and operations of several businesses were also disrupted, but they were able to recover very fast as they were essentials, and the factories also opened up very fast. As of now, the company has witnessed a growth of 20% in April and 28% in May, so that's some positive sign that we are seeing from Britannia. Let's see how the coming quarters pan out for Britannia.
All right, thank you, Vinny, for taking us through Britannia's Q4 performance. But let me now shift focus to page 8 of Economic Times, and this is the story that I am going to talk about, and that is Foxconn, Oppo and others may go for a 41,000 crore rupees PLI swaps. And what is PLI? That's production linked investment scheme that the government is in. So the top global players such as Foxconn, Wistron, that is the manufacturer of Apple iPhones, Flex, Samsung, Oppo and Vivo are likely to apply for production linked incentive scheme worth 41,000 crore rupees as a part of India's massive push to wean away from companies from China and emerge as world's hub for electronics production. And there are 5 to 6 companies which control 80% of the smartphone manufacturing across the globe. Initially, we wish to help these 5 global companies in establishing a wide manufacturing base in the country, and that is what the IT and Telecom Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad spoke yesterday in a briefing. He also said that the scheme will also initially help develop 5 domestic champions. Moving on, the minister also dispelled concerns that India's policy of self-reliance was inward-looking. He said that a self-reliant, robust India is not against any country, and also added that government hopes to ramp up exports of mobile phones from the country to about $110 billion from the current under $3 billion. So this is the word coming in from the Telecom Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad on how he wants to make India the new manufacturing hub for the electronics, and Foxconn, Oppo and others may go in for a 41,000 crore rupees PLI SOPs. Moving on now from talking about the smartphone industry, and let me take you through a story that's there on the ET Markets page. And here you go, this is the one that I'm going to talk about, and that's DII equity holdings touch multi-quarter high in Jan to March quarter. And I have my and this is a very important story coming in. The DIIs have increased their stakes in Power Grid, Aisha, NTPC, Coal India and ONGC. So let me take you through the story right from the newspaper for you. The latest institutional holdings data reflects that the impact of the exodus of FIIs has been partially offset by the sustained flows from the DIIs. The DIIs holding in Indian equities rose to a record high of 14.8% in the March 2020 quarter. This is according to Access Capital. Also, like I mentioned, the DI equity holdings is at touch multi-quarter high in Jan to March. They've increased their stake in Power Grid, Aisha, NTPC, Coal India, as well as ONGC. So some good news coming in on that particular front as well. But let me shift focus now to a story that's there on the page 2 of Economic Times. Just give me a moment while I flip my pages right onto that particular story, and that is Trump. Like yesterday we had a story where Trump said that he is going to look to expand the G7 and also invite other nations, where he's now gone ahead and actually done that. He's gone ahead and invited Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the G7 summit in the United States. Here you go. This is the story that I'm talking about. That Donald Trump, US President Donald Trump, has extended the invitation to Prime Minister Narendra Modi to join the G7 meeting in the United States. Was the highlight of that particular talk that they both had. Trump wants to expand the G7 to G11, where China does not figure. Also, Modi commends Trump for his creative and far-sighted approach. Prime Minister said that India would be happy to work with the United States and other countries, but Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed concern over civil disturbance in the United States. He's conveyed his best wishes for early resolution. The two exchange views on COVID-19 situation as well as the reforms in the World Health Organization. So this is a big story coming in, that Trump has indeed invited Prime Minister Narendra Modi to join the G7, which he hopes to expand, which Trump hopes to expand to G11. But let me now shift focus to Cyclone Nisarga that is all set to hit Alibag today, and that is indeed the top story on the Times of India also this morning. Let me just take you through the deals that is there. There is warning for Mumbai, Thane as well as Raigad and Palghar due to the cyclone Nisarga. The landfall is expected at Alibag. The alert there's alert in the coastal areas as well. The rains light to moderate in most places and heavy to very heavy at few places and extremely heavy in the isolated places. So according to the latest IMD update, the depression is lying around 300 kilometers southwest of Alibag and 350 kilometers south of Mumbai. So the state as well as the city of Mumbai is bracing for cyclone Nisarga this morning. But let me now move on quickly to Times of India, top 5 headlines coming in on the Times of India. And first up is definitely Mumbai set for rain lash as Nisarga bears down. Moving on to India, COVID cases is past the 2 lakh mark. The cases are also far away from the peak is what ICMR is flagging off. BMC to test all high-risk contacts, and doubling rate of Mumbai cases slows to 19 days. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the Newspaper Show. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to ET Now for more news and updates.